China's big pharma gamble. A dream of cheap medicines? Or a new trap? Just imagine. It's the stillness of night, the hospital corridor is silent. But inside one room a battle between life and death is underway. The doctor wipes his sweat and says, "Medicine must be given immediately." Outside, a poor father asks in a trembling voice, "Doctor, how expensive is this medicine?" And the answer he hears doesn't just break his heart. It reminds us that sometimes healthcare becomes more expensive than life itself. Now imagine if those medicines became cheaper. If those injections, those life-saving drugs, those tablets that crush a common person's pocket suddenly became affordable. What would change? And in the middle of this very question comes a massive storm. China is about to take a step that could shake the entire global pharmaceutical market. It is being said that API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, prices in China are falling so fast that medicines in our countries may also become cheaper in the coming times. But the story is not that simple. Because whenever the world's biggest manufacturing power drops prices, it's rarely out of kindness. It is strategy. Let me tell you, India is the world's biggest hub of generic medicines. The cheap medicines produced here reach even the poorest countries in the world and save millions of lives. But the most crucial part of making these medicines, the raw material, API, India largely buys from China. Around 70% of APIs come from China. And when that very China suddenly drops prices, the game becomes very interesting. After the pandemic, China made massive investments in pharma manufacturing. Factory capacity increased, production accelerated, and suddenly the market was flooded with supply, pushing prices down. Something like paracetamol, which during the pandemic went up to 900 rupees per kg, has now dropped to around 50 rupees per kg. The raw material of essential medicines like Amoxicillin has gone down to almost half the price. Sounds like good news, right? Because if raw material becomes cheaper, manufacturing costs drop, and theoretically medicines should become cheaper. That's the sweet dream being sold with this news. That now medicines will be cheaper, common people will get relief, and hospital burden will reduce. But behind every dream lies a reality. And here, that reality is a little dark. This is not just a market fluctuation. It is also a silent economic battle. When prices suddenly fall too sharply, there are two possibilities. First, a genuine demand-supply imbalance. And second, deliberate price undercutting to destroy competition. Many analysts say that Chinese pharma companies are pricing so aggressively low that some APIs are being sold even below cost. Meaning, manufacturing at that price itself is loss-making. So the question is, why sell then? Because when a giant economy starts dumping in the market, its ultimate goal is to weaken competitors, capture market share, and then set prices according to its own will in the future. Just imagine, if Indian API companies are unable to survive, if their factories begin shutting down, if domestic manufacturing weakens, what will happen? We will become completely dependent on China. And the day China raises prices again, we will have no option left. This is not just about economics. It is also about national security. Medicine is not just a business, it is a survival system. If global tensions rise, if a trade war happens, if geopolitical conflict emerges and China cuts supply, what then? The pandemic has already taught us that breaking supply chains doesn't just mean business loss, it puts millions of lives at risk. So when people say, medicines will become cheaper, the real questions are, for how long and at what cost? But the picture doesn't end here. India is not the kind to sit quietly either. In the past few years, India has started focusing strongly on pharma self-reliance, production-linked incentive schemes, bulk drug parks, R&D incentives, and efforts to revive domestic manufacturing. The government's vision is simple. India should not just produce medicines. India should also produce the raw material so that we are not dependent on any single country. But when the opposing player drops prices so aggressively that market economics itself gets distorted, these initiatives come under pressure. Many Indian manufacturers say that when the market becomes artificially cheap, local manufacturing simply cannot sustain. Imagine, a company sets up a plant with great effort, invests money, hires labor, and then the market throws up prices that make survival logically impossible. In such a case, either companies shut down, or slowly, foreign dependence keeps increasing. Now here comes another interesting twist. Domestic demand in the Chinese market is suddenly rising. Healthcare consumption has increased, production has increased, and exports have also surged. And when any system expands so rapidly, prices sometimes become unstable. Many times, even China itself is unsure whether this price fall is natural or the result of a flawed strategy. In fact, according to some reports, even Chinese regulators are now examining whether these prices are unsustainable. Because if prices remain too low for too long, the entire global pharma ecosystem could go out of balance. So the question arises, what does this mean for the common person? Will medicines actually become cheaper? Theoretically, yes. If companies buy raw materials at lower prices, their manufacturing costs will reduce, profitability will increase, and logically, some portion of that benefit should reach consumers. Prices of some medicines may indeed fall. Some hospitals and pharmacies may offer relief. Government bodies like price regulators track such trends and sometimes even officially mandate price reductions. Meaning, in the short term, this is good news. A poor man buying a fever tablet, an elderly patient struggling for BP medicine, a middle-class family buying an antibiotic course. They may get some relief. But the long-term equation is a bit different. If dependency increases and local manufacturing weakens further, in the coming years these cheaper medicines may become expensive again. And then the cost won't just be higher prices, it will also be helplessness. Imagine having no choice, fewer options in the market. And monopoly is always dangerous. History has shown time and again, cheap things are never really free. There is always some hidden cost behind them. Now let's look at the human angle of this story. Every year, millions of people in India delay treatment because of medicine affordability. Many leave treatment halfway because they cannot afford the full course. When insulin becomes expensive, diabetic patients compromise. When people hear the cost of cancer medicines, they break down. In such a situation, if medicines truly become cheaper, millions of lives will become better. Poor patients will get a stronger chance to fight. The middle class will get some relief. The healthcare burden will reduce a little. This could have a massive social impact. But again, the relief must be sustainable. Relief cannot be temporary, because diseases are not temporary. Meanwhile, another interesting layer unfolds. World politics silently gets intertwined with the pharma market. Global trade wars, tariff decisions, manufacturing shifts, supply chain realignment, all of these begin to impact medicine prices. China knows that pharma is not just business, it is also soft power. The country that controls the world's medicines controls the world's needs. And India also knows that if it wants to demonstrate global leadership, it must not just be a player in pharma, it must be a leader. So the picture now looks like this. China is slashing prices. India is cautiously optimistic. Regulators are on watch mode. Companies are calculating. And common people are hoping that at least medicines should become cheaper. But the real question is not whether medicines will become cheaper or not. The real question is whether these cheaper medicines will be a blessing or a trap for the future. Will this competition bring health benefits or increase dependency? Will this step become a new hope for global patients or a new game in the global pharma market?
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources news from various news agencies, opinion polls, and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.